Are we better? Okay.
We're good.
Hello, everybody.
Good evening. Happy.
Are we live now?
What day is it? Tuesday.
Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. Taco Tuesday.
Without tacos.
Without tacos.
That's what Chloe wanted to
That
do
was
for
my
the
idea,
live.
was that our live would just be us making tacos for Taco Tuesday. But
We didn't do that, clearly, so.
we're going to do something else.
We are going to talk a little bit about shushing up your inner mean girl this week. We're going to be a little more gentle to her.
Chloe, you should have kept your hoodie on.
Dang it.
Because we would have been legitimate, like, hoodie glasses Hannah sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was
they
even
made-
great. It was a zip up too.
Yep.
Should I go change?
I'm sitting in the
That's
middle for
good.
2 reasons. One's because I always end up with my arm around Emily. You're going to do it this week. I know you're going to want to do
Props.
it. And also they have something, I don't know what your glasses
It's
are.
this. You
It's
see
the
how
reflection.
the reflection, and you can't. It makes us look scary.
Okay. I don't think you're
It
scary.
makes
Anyways.
me feel like I have goggles on.
All right,
we
well,
gotta.
goggles. That's enough
Speaking of
negative
words.
self-talk.
Speaking of words, the words we tell ourselves.
The words. Hi, Mandy. Hey, Madison.
And
Say
Cecily.
hi.
Okay,
I don't
that-
know. It is very. It's hard to
Okay.
read this little print.
And Prudence is here
Hi,
too.
Andy.
Ooh, meow.
There she is.
And Liz.
Hello.
Hi, baby.
Okay.
Pam says hi, too.
Hi, Pam. Okay, let's get down to business.
Let's do it.
Let's
Enough.
talk about this.
All right.
Farting around.
Did we find a quote to start with, or are we just going to jump right in?
I don't know if
I mean, I could try and make one up quick.
do it.
Shoot from the hip. Okay, so we wanted to talk about your inner mean girl and your negative
Chelsea.
self-talk and how that can be such an issue. And we talked about it from a lot of different angles before we decided to go live. And you never really realize how ingrained it really is into like everything. For example, I went on a trip last summer with a group of girls, and one of the girls at one point just kind of like, I don't want to say like snapped, but just was kind of like, enough. Like, that's enough. Because I was constantly saying negative things, and I didn't even realize that I did it. Like, I honestly would just be like I'd drop something on the floor and be like, oh, you're so stupid, or I'd put on something and be like, oh, you look so gross, and I would just say it out loud and not even think about it. And it was just so, like, she was just like, I can't take it anymore. Like, it's just such a negative energy that you're putting out. Like, I need you to not talk to yourself like that. And it was so natural for me that I didn't even realize I was doing it.
Yeah.
Like, how negatively I was talking to myself. And I feel like we all kind of fall into that.
Well, and as a friend
trap.
too, like, it's sad when you hear your friends talking like that, but it's also just kind of abrasive. Like, it does put other people kind of in a weird position too, like having to constantly just
Well, it
take
kind
on
of-
that energy.
yeah.
And which, like we said, it's not that, like, obviously when you have a healthy friendship, like, part of that is encouraging each other, but, like, the example we gave earlier, like, no one wants to go, like, shopping with the girl that's like, I hate myself, everything looks terrible on me, I'm so fat, I'm so ugly. It's like,
It takes so much energy to be around
Yeah.
someone like that.
it's a lot of negative
It's also
energy.
just really sad, like, if your friend or
Significant
somebody-
other, or your kids, too, like,
Yes.
I mean, yeah, that's, if you were to hear, like, Eden will say that. She'll get frustrated with math homework and she'll be like, I'm so stupid, like, I'm not good at math. And it's like, that's the most heartbreaking thing ever when you hear someone that you care about talking that way about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, I don't think we even realize that we do it to ourselves. And I think
just-
that
yeah.
words are super powerful. Like, the things that you're speaking into, like, the things that you're speaking will, like, come to fruition.
Right.
I think we've talked about that too before, like the power of words and thoughts. And if you're constantly, like, saying negative things about yourself, like, that's what you're going to believe.
Right. That's like the quote that I read. Yes. What was it? Like, the things... It was, the things that you say out loud aren't really going to happen. It's what you whisper to yourself that will come to light.
Yeah.
Which is so
Yes.
true.
It is.
So it's not so much about the things that you say out loud, because sometimes we're even more negative in our heads.
and
And we
it's
don't
just
even
like
have
a
to say everything.
constant loop. Like, that's what your brain's just gonna
Right.
keep going to and tracking to. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, gonna come to fruition. So
Yeah.
Some ways we were kind of talking about how we kind of get stuck in those negative thoughts. So, I mean, they can come from like one little thing somebody said to you when you were young, or just really at any point in life. It's just for some reason you grab a hold of that and like you start replaying it, and it just becomes this track, like this loop played over and over in your brain, and then you see everything in life and yourself like through that filter.
So true. I think like the example that I gave was, and it sounds so silly now, but then it was so like huge for me, but like in 5th grade, I had someone say to me like, oh, you have like really big lips. And they didn't even say it like in a negative way, but suddenly like the size of my lips had never been anything that I had ever thought about or even like registered. Like I wasn't looking at people and like noticing the size of their lips, but someone said that to me, and suddenly I became super self-conscious about the size of my lips and literally walked around like with my lips tucked in for my entire 5th grade year because someone had just said something and I took it negatively and I obsessed over it, and it became such a huge part of my life. And that's an example, and it sounds really silly, but to a 5th grade girl, when you're going through that time of like just wanting to be like everyone else and fit in, that was just so huge, and it like scarred me to the point where I now remember it.
Right.
How many like decades later?
Well, and I mean, we all had examples of that. I mean, I can remember like I told that like some of these stories are really embarrassing.
Well, because like see how silly it was, but that in that moment,
but it's so stuck in your head.
Right. Well, and I think even now, like I look back at like the last like 3 or 4 years, and I was like so obsessed with my weight. And now I'm to the point where I'm like, it comes and it goes, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And I think it's silly that I was so obsessed to the point where I was like it was my whole life. I think it's, you know what I mean? So I just think it's like you grow from that, and you're like, how silly was I to like let that bother me so much?
Right.
I know one example I had, oh, it's so sad, kind of embarrassing. But I do remember when I was little, like 1st or 2nd grade, I don't remember exactly when, but I literally remember this girl telling me, you're bigger than everyone else. Which that's kind of a time, like I do remember in kindergarten being like one of the tallest girls, but I just for some reason, I mean everybody's kind of growing at different stages then, especially girls, but it just from then on I was conscious of it, and that is something that has just played in my head, like you're bigger or you're this compared to other people, and just like made me conscious of like, oh, are people looking at me like that? And it's just something I still remember to this day, like and it plays in my head like sometimes.
And
then it's so silly.
These things become things that we tell ourselves, whether it's out loud or just in our heads. I mean, and it's not, I mean, body issues and the way we view our bodies and love them or not love them is a huge thing, I think, as women. Also, I think that other things, I mean, it can be your attitude, or, you know, like people telling you that, like, you're selfish. And, or like, I just try to think of other examples.
Like, it can even be like, I hate this, or I can't do this, or
you're stupid, or
like people telling you, you know, I can remember being, in like high school. Ow, Prudence just attacked me. And having like this insane desire to, it was really weird. We did this month-long unit on Cambodia and the Pol Pot regime and Khmer Rouge, and I was in like 8th grade, and I had this insane, like right away I was like, I just want to go to Cambodia. Like I want to go to Cambodia, and I want to like help these people and like help this country and do something. And I can remember bringing it up to certain teachers and them basically telling me like, that's the silliest thing I've ever heard. You can't go to Cambodia. And I think that like in certain situations, like when you hear something like that, like you believe it. And I was like, and look, I mean, and then a year and a half ago, I went to Cambodia and worked with a nonprofit, and but I think there are a lot of times where we're told, because like when we were younger, like that's silly, don't even try to do it.
Right. Or even as adults.
Yeah.
Like I feel like a lot of the time, even like especially when it comes to like business or things that you want to achieve, like your example of like traveling to Cambodia, like I feel like a lot of the times we as women, like if you want to do anything that's not the norm or not flying under the radar, it's going to be highlighted and a lot by other people. And that is so easily turned into like a negative, like if you believe that and you like assume that as truth on yourself, that's when it becomes like an obsession and like a really negative place that you kind of find yourself.
Yeah, and that's a lot of times comes from like our inner voice and what we're telling ourselves.
Right.
And like I said, it could be because of something someone else has told you. It could just be like something that has come from within or...
Right. And once you're in that like negative groove, it's so hard to, like, how easy is it for us to say, okay, this outfit looks bad, and you will cling on to that negativity, but then as soon as someone says something like, oh, your outfit's really cute, and we'll be like, no, it's not.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Not being able to accept like
you will cling,
yes.
you will cling on to a negative statement, but if someone says something nice, you're so quick to just forget it. And I think we've talked about that before. Where like if someone says something negative, like, oh, I hate your lipstick today, you will cling on to that and be so self-conscious. But if someone says they like your lipstick, you're gonna let that slide, and that's gonna be like something that you don't obsess about the positive.
Right.
And when you're so negative on yourself, like who here is like super awkward when it comes to taking compliments? Like when someone says like, oh my gosh, you look really thin today, I'm the first one to be like, oh yeah, I haven't had breakfast yet. Like I'll give an excuse as to why that compliment's not valid.
Right.
Which
or
is
like,
really
oh,
twisted.
No, I don't. Like I've actually...
Right. Oh, this old thing. Like, oh, I like your shirt. Oh, this old thing. Like, no, I found this in the back of my closet. Like you are so quick to like...
Very awkward is the word. Because then I like literally go away and I'm like, what did I even say? I don't... Why did I do that?
Right, and I think that kind of stems back to what we were talking about as well before we went live, was that you don't want to be too hard on yourself, but then society also says that you can't be too full of yourself, which is so twisted and so disgusting. And there is a line where you're just like really egotistical and really full of yourself, but having confidence and a positive self-talk is totally okay. I am giving you permission to tell yourself positive things.
Yeah.
So if you needed that, if you thought that it's not okay to say nice things to yourself, we're giving you permission.
Yes. Well, like I gave the example, there's that song. Is it by One Direction? Did we figure it out?
You looked it up.
Baby, you light up my world.
Yeah.
Like nobody else.
But they say, you don't know you're beautiful, that's what makes you beautiful. And I just think that that's so messed up. And I think that that is something that as a society and as women, we... like have really taken on ourselves. Like I can't, like I don't deserve to say that I'm beautiful, or I don't deserve to say like I'm smart and I'm successful and
like you're supposed to be this like picture of perfection, but then you're supposed to pretend like you don't know or you haven't worked hard for something.
You're supposed to be perfect, but you can't know that you
like,
are.
You
can't know.
It's kind of weird.
You gotta pretend that you're not aware.
Yeah.
It's really twisted. So you got to stop the negative self-talk, and you have to give yourself permission to say nice things and positive things to yourself at the same time. So I think a good transition here to like finding ways to say something positive is, you know that it's negative self-talk if you wouldn't let your friend say it to themselves in front of you.
Or if you wouldn't say it to your friend.
Yes.
Like we watched part of the video. I don't think any of us could actually handle it. There's a video, which maybe I'll post the link to it, but it's of these best friends. They wrote down things that they think about their body, and then they read it to each other, directed at each other. And it was like the most heartbreaking thing ever, because you would never say those things to someone that you care about. So why would you say that to yourself and like about yourself?
I've also noticed too, like since Eden's 9 now, but did become a little bit more conscious of things like when she came into the picture and when she's around. Like if I really don't want her thinking those things or saying those things to herself, or even really being aware that like those sad negative thoughts exist, like I probably shouldn't be saying it. And I think it's just like off the handle stuff, like oh God, I ate that, like I'm so fat, or
Yeah. And like I, like as her mom, like I've become like, even, I'm not saying that I don't say those things or think those things about myself when she's not around, but when she is around, like I get so angry when people will be around her and be like, oh my gosh, like I'm so fat, or like, oh, I'm so ugly, or, you know, I'm like, stop. Like, I don't even want her to be like conscious of having those thoughts.
Right.
Because like we said, it starts like, these are things that happen like
one
when you're a
thing
kid.
you heard, yeah.
You know?
Little tiny things that they like pick up on.
Yeah.
So
that
if
we
you don't
picked
want
up on.
the little ones or your friends saying it, you probably shouldn't be saying it to yourself.
Right. So what are some ways that we can take the negative thoughts and acknowledge them and change them? One thing that personally that I found that helps is acknowledging that you're saying something negative about yourself and then replacing that with like a positive mantra instead. So you could have one like overarching positive affirmation that's like, I am strong, I am beautiful, or something along those lines. And it can be short, it can be long, it can be one word, it can be anything. But finding something that you say that's overarching that replaces all negative thoughts, or you can just take a negative thought and replace it with a positive thought. So like if I look in the mirror and say, oh, you look disgusting today, I can say, no, you are strong and you are beautiful.
Right.
And replace that specific thought with something like the exact opposite that's positive.
Right. Or something like, oh, rather than saying like, oh, I'm a failure and like I'm just keep messing up, it's like, no, I am learning every day. Like I'm ready to accept good things in my life.
And I know this is like really like kind of like a trend lately, like affirmations, and it seems kind of cliche and it might seem kind of cheesy, but it is really true. Like words really do have power, and the more that you're filling your mind with positivity, like that's again where you're gonna go. Like that's the direction you're gonna go. That's the way your brain's gonna start to work.
Attract.
And I feel like you can try and replace the negative thoughts with the positive mantra, but I've seen people even take it and like write it on Post-its and like stick it to their bathroom mirror. And like, so they're saying positive things even if they weren't going to say something negative. They are like repeating positive thoughts. Like at the gym we have like this inspiration wall, and I just write like inspirational quotes like on Post-its, and I just say, it just says take what you need, and you can take the Post-it and stick it wherever. So like on the visor in your car, or on the fridge, or on your calendar, or in the bathroom on the mirror, whatever. But just having that positive affirmation around, even if you aren't thinking anything negative, that positive affirmation can be good. Yeah.
Well, and like we talked about, like words really do have power. We were talking about the example where they've taken like apples.
I think
they put them. I'm serious.
I'm gonna do it.
They put apples or like plants or I don't know what. I'm pretty sure I saw
It
apples
has to be
and
one
rice.
same apple cut in half.
Apples and rice?
Yeah, it was literally
Stop
rice.
it.
I don't know about the rice, but the apples or fruit, whatever. And they put them in 2 containers. And to one apple, they say like really nice things like, I love you, you're beautiful, you're amazing. And then the other apple, they're like, I hate you, you're ugly, whatever. And the apple that they say the bad things to rots like so quickly, and the other one doesn't.
Guys, I'm trying this.
I think it's a great metaphor.
It's true.
Emily, I'll let you know.
I
They
think
like
it's
plants.
shenanigans.
They say like if you talk to your plants,
I don't
if
agree
you say
with
nice
the plant
things to
thing
your plants,
either. Okay, we're not going to go off on this tangent of
Science.
plants.
I'm pretty.
Plants
It's
have
true.
feelings too.
It's true.
Okay.
We'll try this experiment. We'll stay tuned.
But even so, it is a lovely metaphor.
Yeah.
So,
be the positive apple.
Be the positive.
Be a good apple.
You are the
even
apple.
if it doesn't
Say
happen
nice
to
things to
apples, I
yourself.
guarantee it happens to humans.
Yeah.
I guarantee that if you
Good transition, Hannah.
speak
Way to take
negativity
control
to a
of that.
human constantly, like they will essentially, their
It
little
is
soul
so
will die.
accurate.
If you speak positivity, their little soul's gonna bloom.
Right.
Yeah.
Just think about it, man.
Another couple ways to kind of catch yourself and switch that negativity over. One is changing negativity to neutrality. So even just like creating a little bit more gentle language, you know, instead of saying like, I can't, or I can't do this, you know, something like this is challenging, but I'm going to learn from it and grow from it. Maybe instead of I hate, like simply like, oh, this isn't my favorite, or I prefer not to. Like, you always grow up hearing, like, hate's such a strong word, and we're just kind of like, whatever. But it's kind of harsh. I don't know.
True.
And one other kind of silly, but I think fun way, this is my favorite.
I like
is giving your inner critic a name. The example I read was, Debbie Downer from Saturday Night Live. Like, oh, that Debbie Downer's doing her thing again. And just, like, recognizing, like, when you hear those negative thoughts, like, that's almost like a whole nother person. And that way you can be like, you know what? Like, bug off.
Stop, Debbie.
What about Regina George? I feel like that's like the best because she is
your inner
meanest
Regina
of
George.
Your inner Regina George.
Call her out. So instead of letting yourself feel like these are my thoughts, these are my opinions of myself, you assign it like a totally separate entity that is thinking those things. So it makes it easier for you to like disconnect yourself and make it more of like a fleeting opinion and less of like a personal investment that you think of yourself.
I think you were giving some.
And
did you say that on here? Or were we just talking about it earlier, like examining your thought and basically asking, like,
like
is
going
this
through,
true?
like, so like when you
this
have,
constructive?
when you have a negative thought, going through, and if you're more of an in-depth person, you need more like a more transformative approach instead of just like turning negative into positive, and you want to kind of like dissect what you're thinking and fix it that way. You can ask yourself like a series of questions like, is this true? Is this thought like a negative conclusion that I'm coming to? Am I jumping to a negative conclusion? Am I just being a bully to myself? Am I being mean? And I'll post more about those questions and those questions that you can ask yourself, but there are questions that you can kind of break down and say, where is this coming from? Why am I thinking this? And is it based on fact? Or is it just like a fleeting emotion that I'm going through in this moment?
And I think that can be really important too, because like we said, I know our examples of these thoughts weren't, or like the words that we tell ourselves and where that was rooted, what that was rooted in, weren't like super painful. And I feel like there are probably some of you that the things that you're telling yourself probably do come from like, so they could come from some very serious trauma in your life. So I think that going back to that and dissecting that and maybe talking that through with someone is a good thing. Because we don't like obviously just want to make light of it, because like I said, it could come from some very traumatic experiences and even like emotional abuse, like thinking about that. And
I read a book, and it's by Christine Kane. It is like she's a Christian author, so it is like a faith-based book, but that one was amazing for me, going from like not seeing yourself as worthy of like a healthy relationship or worthy of love or worthy of respect or anything like that, and that really like is a transformative place. So yeah, this can be as simple as like negative self-talk, you're stupid, you're fat, whatever, but it, like Chloe's saying, like it can also come from a really like deep-rooted trauma or time where you like these things are ingrained in you.
And you need to do some work, and we're not qualified.
So talking to someone, or I mean, and I don't want to say we're not qualified, because I think that we've all gone through some serious shit.
I just mean
too.
we're not
professionals, but I mean, if you do need to talk to someone about it, obviously reach out. But yeah, like I think maybe just starting to identify, is this, like you said, is this true, or is this even coming from me, or is this coming from a past experience and someone else's words?
Yeah, because you might not even realize it's a problem. Like for me, like when I was on my trip and I didn't even realize it was a thing, and then suddenly I was like, oh my gosh, like, because I always considered myself to be like a really positive person, or at least with a positive outlook or an optimist, and then all of a sudden it's like I'm optimistic about everybody else's things. But for me, I was very self-critical of a lot of stuff. Wasn't even on your radar. Wasn't even on my radar. On my radar. Okay, I'm not going to start singing Britney
Also,
Spears.
I do have to just... Pam said by Sheila.
By
Sheila.
That's
another
supposed to be by Felicia.
By Felicia. One time she jokingly said I was ranting to her, and she was like, by Sheila. And I just lost it, because I was like, it's Felicia.
I feel like that... or do you guys just say that? That's
we
where
just
I've heard
say
it.
Yes, yeah. So then we started
made it
saying
a
it
thing.
jokingly, and now I always say bye Sheila instead of bye Felicia, and then everyone thinks that I'm saying it wrong, and I'm like, no. It's a whole thing.
Well,
Anyways.
you find your Sheila, your Felicia, your Debbie,
You're Regina.
your Regina.
And you kick them out. They're not allowed to stay.
Shh.
They're not allowed to move in.
Shh.
Shh. Shut your mouth.
Shh.
Shut your mouth.
Okay.
That's
All right, that's
Okay,
enough.
wrapper.
We're getting weird.
Besides all that, don't forget, this Sunday, 11 a.m.
There will be
we're
no
meeting up.
snowstorm.
There will be no snowstorm. I rebuke that.
We're eating. We're
We're-
making scrubs. We're crafting. We're
We're-
chatting.
We're chatting about all the things.
Same
There's gonna be a lot.
time, same place.
11 a.m.
Zen Station
Sunday.
Spa on the corner of 8th and Grant. Be there. Bring a friend. Come hang out with us.
Make it happen. Show up.
Message
Show
us
up.
if you have any questions. Oh no, low battery. What?
Low battery. That's our cue.
That's our
Okay.
cue.
Stop talking.
Bye.
Toodaloo.
Love y'all. Bye.